We just bought 17 homes in Macon, Georgia, and we got them for $680,000 less than appraised value. I'm gonna show you a little bit about the properties and what we'll be doing with them. So if you come on over here, you can see it's obviously not the Ritz-Carlton, right? And that's fine, but we ended up buying these for $42,000 each, and we got 17 homes, and all these appraised at like $80,000 each. So that's a lot of instant day one equity value, and it was on market. And we bought it for 10% down. Here's how. So on the inside here, and forgive if there's a little bit of echo or maybe dark lights going on here, but we're gonna just try not to burn the place down by turning on the electrical immediately. You can tell this is not really that bad, all things considered. It's not a total gut job, and it's definitely not gonna be, you know, the Ritz-Carlton of all properties, like I mentioned earlier on. But, you know, new ceiling fan, for instance, I mean, look at that, it's like really gross. No tenant wants to deal with that. You know, we got some dirty painted shut shutters. I mean, if you look here, like you're not gonna be able to open that up no matter what. So, so definitely a few things we can do to improve here and just make this a little bit more nice to live in overall. Come in here, here's some of the gross stuff. We do have electrical in this room. You know, you're gonna be dealing with stuff like wasp nests. Everybody wants to deal with that. There's a lot over here. You got a lot of wasp nests everywhere. Right? Most of them are dead though. It just looks ugly. It's not the kind of stuff that most people want to take on for their projects, but let's fix a doorknob maybe, and then we can get this thing rented out for probably about $1,000 a month. By the way, market rent is about $1,300. So we always try to stay under market rent because we want our tenants to be happy when they're working with us, or when they're renting from us rather. And then we want to make sure that we're not having constant turnover. So just a few other things here that you can look at. It's like, let's get rid of the shutters or the little the overhang thing. That's just kind of junky, you know, throwing in a new light fixture. It's just really basic stuff like that. But this is the kind of stuff that Wall Street doesn't want to deal with. That's how we make our money, is we're buying the crap that nobody else wants to get. This isn't even all that bad. And we've dealt with some war zones. So again, just, you know, checking stuff, cleaning up the house, just getting it rent ready. You know, there's a few things like, you know, got a crack here. That's just, it's an old house. It's going to have some stuff. So let's go throw some drywall on it, drywall mud that is, you know, caulk up some holes if we got a little mouse hole or whatever, and call an exterminator and then call it a day. So, so definitely not grade A standard every time, but we definitely want to make sure we're making this nice, clean, habitable, redo the floor, redo the floors if we need to. And in this case, definitely redo the bathroom. So coming on in here, then, this is a couple of things that you'll tend to see with some of these homes is you'll have stuff here like rotted out wood, right? And it's not even like rotted out. It's just, it's been getting hit with water damage. And that's probably because the previous person had a shower wall that didn't go up high enough, or maybe they didn't seal it in well. So this comes in from the DIYers. Like, why would you do that? So we've done a lot of unit turns. We own about we've bought rather about 450 units. And we've also sold off a couple here recently. So, so stuff like that is going to definitely be things that we can come in and do a better job than like your typical mom and pop can. Also, when we have outdated plumbing like this, that's called a scald guard. That's from like the 1950s. Modern plumbing does not operate off of that anymore. So, so when we're in here, we're going to be taking care of some stuff like that. So let me break down a little bit here, and I'll just use this drywall actually. I'm going to explain a little bit about how we got this deal done. So like most of our deals, we buy predominantly with creative finance, but we also will throw in a bank a little bit every now and then too. So what we did on this one is this was bought for about $730K price. PP is for purchase price, right? So if we bought for $730K purchase price, if you go with a normal bank, they're going to say, we're going to need 30% down, right? So 30%, that's going to be approximately $250K, right? That's a lot of money down to close. So if we buy it for $730 and put down $250K, and then let's just say it makes $250K profit, that's only 100% return, right? So if it's, assume $250K profit, then that's only 100% return. Now, if we go over to this side though, this is how we actually bought it, is we did what's called a 70-20-10. So we did 70% bank, and then we did 20% seller finance. We're gonna put SF for that, which means that we only had to do 10% down. 10% down. Now, of that 10% down, we got stuff falling all over the place in here. Of that 10% down, then it's not just capital coming out of our pocket. What we do is we have a limited partner. So a limited partner is going to come in and fund that down payment. So if that down payment is going to be 10% of 730, that's only $73,000. And in this case, we actually raised 100 just because we want to be a little bit more protective and have like a rehab budget cooked in there. But if the actual property just appraised for 1.41 million, and then we adjusted some price and did some credits and stuff, the total amount at the end of the day was actually about 680K. Again, if you audit my math, you'll see it's slightly off, but it's because we had some credits and stuff in there. So if we have a $680,000 day one profit, how hard is it to triple $73,000? Not that hard, right? So now we can give a 2 to 3x return over 2 to 3 years for our limited partners, except we actually did it on day one. So our limited partner, if they're funding that deal, anything in excess of 2 to 3x over 2 to 3 years on their capital, we will keep. And the limited partner doesn't have to do squat. They're passive in the deal. They're just coming in as essentially like angel investors, the type of people you'd see in Shark Tank, essentially. So if they can come in for only $73,000 and cover that down payment, and we're having a deal that makes $680,000 on day one, not even factoring principal pay down, rent collection, appreciation, rehab, any of that. Literally day freaking one, if it's $680,000, yeah, it's very easy to do a 2 to 3x for that $73,000, definitely over 2 to 3 years. So that's where the splits will come in. So I don't remember exactly what we gave this person, but let's just say it's approximately like 15%. So if we do 15% for them, then that means it's going to be 85% for us. So 85% of $680,000 is a good chunk of change, well over $500,000 on day one. Now, here's the funny thing about this whole deal is it was listed on market for like 6 months, and it wasn't able to get acquired very well because other people were looking at it from the point of view of, I got to go put $250,000 down on these homes that are going to have issues appraising. I mean, again, look at this stuff, right? A bank's they're not going to want to lend on this type of stuff typically. Or if they are, they're not going to give you super great terms on it. So that's the whole idea is let's structure a deal. Let's make it a deal when nobody else will and nobody else knows how to. Because again, it was listed on market for like 6 months. Nobody was able to acquire it. The agent even said, no, we won't do seller financing, but the key is being really persistent in order to make sure you're getting through and pitch the deal that works, not just the one that you think that they want. Because a lot of times they're not even understanding why it's good for them on their end. So we did actually get it sold for the seller, and we did definitely get that closed for the agent. So the agent made about $40,000 on this deal. And you know, if I'm going to be honest, I did all the acquisition work. I structured everything for it. So, but the agent at least called me back, which is good. So, so if you're not getting through to these guys, you definitely got to hammer it home. But anyway, again, we normally buy like mobile home parks or apartment complexes and whatnot, but this is just an example. And this is like one of the worst homes for rehab. And I've flipped a lot of homes, and this is not even really all that bad. So anyway, hopefully there's a nice little walkthrough here. But the key aspect on all this is structure the deal so that it works. And if you don't understand the mechanics on how to do this, then it's time to learn. So if you want to learn on this, then here's my very shameless call to action for a free thing that I've built and created for everybody, which is the Presailing.com Discord community. So if you click the link in the description below, you'll be able to join an active community network where you can jump in for voice chat for free. And then we run events all the time talking about this. Now, why would I do all this education, training, media, everything for free? Because eventually I want to be able to partner with you. And actually on this deal, we brought in 6 people, and then they all made a net $20,000, or they're going to make net $20,000, but on day one, they still made several $1,000s. And they did that for 0 on the equity side. That means they didn't have to contribute in like a down payment or anything else. So they went from 0 experience to owning 17 homes. That's over $1 million assets under management. And now they're going to be able to go forward and be able to talk on every single phone call with every broker and every seller and say, yep, I own 17 units. By the way, one of them was 17 years old. So if you want to be into that kind of stuff, I'm not ever going to be asking you for dollars out of your pocket. There's not going to be a paywall. There are going to be a few things we'll be releasing that are paid, but there's so much free stuff out there because we need people to help us work these deals, because running and operating 400 plus units gets really, really time consuming unless we delegate outward. So if you want to be interested in doing stuff like this and kickstart your journey for free, make sure to click the link in the bio as well and down below. Thanks.